All right. There still might be a couple jumping on, but let's go ahead and get started. Welcome. This is the eMedApps BBP Billing Automation webinar. Please note that all the attendees are in listen-only mode. Inquiries may be submitted using the questions window, and also a recording will be sent out to all attendees. All right, here's the question box. Feel free to submit those questions during the webinar. There might be time for us to stop as we're moving along. If we don't get to it during the webinar, we will definitely try to get to it at the end and make sure that we follow up after the webinar to make sure you get that question answered. Usually we do add those to the recording that comes out to you. All right, about eMedApps. eMedApps is a healthcare information technology services company providing practices, clinics, and hospitals with a full range of services, as well as a suite of products designed to increase efficiency and facilitate communication. We were founded in 1999. We work as a partner with NextGen since 2001. We work as a subcontractor for NextGen. We serve healthcare clients all across the USA. Services and products for NextGen clients. We also have some custom products and services for other EHRs outside of NextGen as well. All right, go ahead and follow us on our social media platforms out there. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. We also have a YouTube channel that has many recordings of our previous webinars. So great thing to check out. Follow us there. And it's just go to YouTube and search for eMedApps. All right, and let me pass it over to our presenter today. It's Betsy Anderson. She's one of our senior application specialists. Welcome, Betsy.
Thank you very much. Okay, so just a little bit about me. I started my healthcare career in the billing department at a hospital. I was there 10 years, and I personally wore many different hats in the central billing office, from the charge entry, payment posting, AR follow-up, financial analyst for our acute care centers. So I get it when I'm working with your billing team. And about 18 years ago, I moved over to implementing, training, and supporting the NextGen application. All right. So in the central billing office, we have many activities that we have to perform every day. So the background business processor allows us to set some of those redundant everyday activities on the background business processor and let it just run behind the scenes. So when we import our payment batches, and we still have to balance them. However, we don't have to sit and just watch as it posts that batch for me. Process pending charges. If you're using the charge holding tank and you have somebody who's just going in and releasing those, we can set that up. Billing encounters, again, all these activities that your end users are sitting and just watching the process run, free up that time for them, and then we can just work the report by exception. Creating our EDI files, printing paper claims for 1500 UB and ADA, and printing all those letters. Creating patient statements, your claim acknowledgement and status imports, your ERA imports, unapplied encounter credits. If you're taking those payments before your charges are in, we have to resolve those unapplied credits. And then, of course, our month-end reporting packages. Your organization probably has a suite of reports that are run at every month end. So as long as after you memorize those and set those up, you can then build your job on the BBP. Okay, so some terminology. So in the BBP, we have packages. So you create a package, you give it a name. We have the ability to notify on failed or completed with failures, or just completed. We can add multiple email addresses by simply putting a comma in between our email addresses. And then we have to select what server we want the jobs to run from, or the package to run from. The package can hold multiple jobs. So you have the ability to enable or disable the packages or at a job level. If you have a job that didn't run, you had everything else that was successful, and you had one that didn't run, you make your adjustments. We can select to just run one of the jobs and then queue it now, and it will run just that one job within the package. Creating jobs. So within my package, I select first my job type. Based on the job type that I select, then the settings below will populate the appropriate parameters for me to define. So again, we can name the job, and at this level, at the job level, I can also set up my notification emails. Our memorized report job option. It's important to define where you want that report to run. Think about the report, the memorized report that you're going to run, the time that you're going to have your package run, and if we want that to run from our production environment or from our report server. So let's say that your schedulers like to have they still like to print their appointment schedule for the day. So they are coming in, logging in, printing that out. That's the first thing they do. Well, you could set that up to run every morning, say at 6 a.m., and that I would want to run from my production server. So that way I'm just looking at my expected appointments for the day, or from my PM application, as opposed to if I'm running my month-end reports, those are database intensive, so I would want those to run from the report server, say on the first of the month for last month. All right, then we set our schedules. So think about your packages and the jobs that you want to include in that package, and if they have like schedule times, then you can go ahead and put all of those jobs in that package and then set that up, whether you want to run it once a month for your month-end reports, or if you want it to run every Monday through Friday. So as long as you can define the times that you want those jobs to run, we can put them all in the same package. On our History tab, by default, it defaults to 7 down here in the bottom left that show last 365 days is the most that you can increase it to. I just took a screenshot here, but when you start to run your jobs, you will have history in which you can click on the line, and then down below it's going to give you your information as to how many items were processed if it were successful, or potentially, as in this example, we received an error message. So when you highlight the line below, it's going to give you the detail of what was returned. If you have an error number, go out to the success community. Many of those error messages are out there. So if you simply just type in error number 91, chances are it will come back with potential fixes. All right, so here's the first option, posting our batches on the BBP. Now, you still have to work your ERA imports, you still have to balance your batch, but I can simply right-click and select BBP, and depending on the interval that I set in my package, I can go ahead and post those behind the scenes. So once those are balanced, flagged for the BBP, I can define where I want that report to save to. So chances are when you're posting your ERA batch, you export that Excel file and you save it to a shared drive. We can do that from the BBP as well. And here is where I set up my posting package time. So you can select it to run multiple intervals throughout the day or at the end of every day. It's all what you prefer as a practice. Process pending charges. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to first show you what you're doing today in the front of the application and then how that translates over to the BBP. So if you're using the holding tank, then somebody's going in to process pending charges. They're selecting their criteria down below. Well, we can move that over to the BBP. And of course, we want to set our date range from the earliest possible date. Say a provider puts in a late charge from February, we want to be able to process that. So we always set it to the earliest possible date. And then if you know that you're giving your provider, say, 3 days to complete their documentation before we drop our claim, then you can go ahead and set the desired time frame to the ending. So it won't pick that up until you are ready to drop those charges. All right, our bill encounters. So every day, hopefully, they're going into your bill encounter, selecting rebill, unbilled, and do not include records without charges. Well, we have those same settings on the BBP. So again, we can select our rebill, unbilled. We can export that report. You could save a snapshot if you'd like. Snapshots will save the data that's returned. Of course, we still have to go in and work our red claim edits, but this way somebody isn't sitting and just watching those edits run. So the bill encounters, again, we can set that to be any days back, or it could be today. Whatever you're doing today, we can match that on the BBP. Printing claims. So from the front of the application, somebody's going in and selecting all your pending paper and one form type at a time. Primary, maybe you're printing primary only or separate from your secondary and tertiary. We can do that from the BBP. So you can set up the drawer, the printer, and the drawer that you want that form to go to, because we know we have to load in all those forms, the ADA, the UB, the 1500. And in the spring 2021 version, there is an option if you have a custom claim form, you can even now set that on the BBP. So maybe you only want to print your primary from the BBP because you know that your secondaries need your paper explanation of benefits. We can do that too. So you can just print just the primary. In this example, I am just only printing primary, or maybe I print my primaries in the morning and then have the BBP print my primaries in the afternoon. So that way I know that those need those EOBs. Just think about what your process is today, and we can match that on the BBP.
Hey, Betsy, I have a question for you, probably on the slide before, not this printing one, but the one right before that. To clarify, clients still have to process the ERA file and still have to balance the batch, but the BBP can post the batch after the fact? Looks
That's
like the
exactly
process
right.
will only save the 2 clicks necessary to post the batch after balancing it.
So it's more than just the 2 clicks. If you think about a large remit, when you right-click and post, you're sitting there waiting for the system to post that batch. So if you're a small practice that maybe your remits aren't that large, but for practices who are posting $50,000 to $100,000 in a remit, that can take a while for that to process. So maybe it will be beneficial for you or not. But yes, you still have to import, but we're going to talk about how we can set those to import later on the BBP. And yes, you do still have to balance. Yes. Thank you for the question. Love the interaction. Okay, so we were billing and then we printed our claims. All right, EDI files. So we've dropped our charges, we've run our claim edits, and now we're ready to create our EDI files. So depending on how many different submitter profiles and how many claim form types that you are creating on a daily basis, we can set each of those up on the BBP. So creating the EDI files, we have the same options here. So you can build one package, and within that package, you would build a job for each submitter profile and form type. And then, of course, we would update the claim status to processed. And if you like to separate your primaries from your secondaries, again, it would just be setting up different jobs within that same package to achieve what you're doing today from the front. And here is a complete package of my claims process. So first I didn't put in my pending charges. So first I'm billing my encounters, then I'm printing all of my different forms, and then I'm creating my EDI files. So all of this can live within one package, and it'll just go on from one job to the next. All right, printing letters. So you may have recall letters, budget letters, collection letters. Each of those, again, you have to print individually. So maybe at the end of the day, you want to set up a package to go and create or to print out your letters. So again, within one package, I could do my letters and then build a job within there for each different letter type that I want to print. And you can select your default printer and again, your drawers if you have different, say you want some to go on letterhead or just plain paper, you can define that. So build one package, multiple jobs. And here I'm showing that I have just a print letters and I'm doing my budget and my encountered collections and my recall letters. Print statements. So from the front of the application, somebody's going in and printing your forms or exporting them if you upload them to a third party to send out your statements. So all of these parameters here default from your practice preferences. Well, on the BBP, I can go ahead and mimic the preferences that we have set in practice preferences for the minimum amount, the maximum amount, all the parameters that you have on the front. You can do the same here and you can print them or export them to a folder. So you can have a schedule to run every day if you run your statements every day, once a week. So you have control over when these statements will be generated. Claim acknowledgement import. So this one I get into a little more detail. So when you send out your claim files, your 837 files to your clearinghouse, they should be returning to you a 999 and a 277. Sometimes it's called 277U or 997s. But essentially what you can do with those files is import them into the practice management application, and that gives your end users a visual cue as to what has happened with that claim after it was submitted to your clearinghouse. So we can we can have the claim acknowledgement import, and from the front of the application, from the front you would do your file process, claim acknowledgement import, you would browse, find it, and pull it in. We can do all of those things on the BBP to have it automatically import those files for us. And our claim status report. So this is a payer response as opposed to the first one is just your clearinghouse. Was your format good on your EDI file? Well, the payer also sends back a status as to whether they've accepted it or not. And from the front, again, you can do the claim status import. And on the BBP, we have the same parameters. So essentially, everything you pick on the front, we set it on the BBP. And here, I just want it because I think that not very many practices are importing the 999 or 277s, but it can really give you some great information. So there's a report, a claim status request report, and down below it's kind of tiny, but you can see my acknowledgement status is accepted. So that means the clearinghouse accepted it. And then the claim status code descriptions, you can see if the payer has accepted it or if they've rejected it. And this is in our archived electronic claims. You can see that information. So these are just different areas of the application where I'm showing you that you can see this. In the patient's chart on clinical history notes tab, in practice preferences, you can also set it to have the note added directly to the encounter. And then this bottom screenshot is in when I just look at my claims, I can see the same information, that my file was accepted by the clearinghouse and that my payer has acknowledged receipt of the encounter. Okay, so now back to our ERA import. So we were talking about how, yes, you still have to work your not posted, balance your batch, and you can let it run on the BBP. But we can also have the system automatically import our ERAs for us. We can have it save a snapshot if I want to go back and work my not posted that way. Or I can, I can export that to Excel, again, for somebody to go and work if there were items that were not posted. So currently they're going in and browsing for the file and watching it import. We have those same options here on the BBP. Again, if you select your job type, ERA directory import, then we can go and browse and map the drive as to where those files are downloaded to. And if you're really tech savvy, you can set up an SFTP, a secure file transfer protocol, with your clearinghouse, in where they can push out the 835 files to you, and then your IT can go out and grab them and automatically download them once a day, multiple times a day, and then you can set up a job to automatically import them for you.
I have a question for you, Betsy.
Yeah.
Okay, will the 277 report that is posted into the EMR post notes from payers, and can we create a task based upon the return data?
Ooh, that's an excellent question. So it's basic information. So here, sometimes the payer, this is very detailed, where this was Aetna, who came back even with a claim number, which could be helpful, when you're disputing timely filing, right? That they give you the information, but it all depends on the payer. And I have not yet set up the task, but I would take a look at our tasks. That's an excellent idea, to take that even a step further, to have somebody go in and working that. I hope that answered the question. If not, please elaborate. Okay, our ERA import. Yep. All right, when you do set up your ERA import, we have to set up 3 additional folders, because once the BBP does its job of importing it in, saving a snapshot, exporting our report to Excel, it will then move to a successful folder, a failed folder, or partially processed folder. So we do still have to monitor what's happening with our 835s, but these steps can greatly improve your processes in the central billing office.
Okay, I have another question for you.
Yes.
Okay, we've never been able to run statements on the BBP because we are server-based and the printers are redirected. Has anyone found a way to overcome this issue, or are there any future changes that may allow us to print from the BBP?
I have experienced that hardship when you're not self-hosted. And here at eMedApps, my IT team is wonderful, and we have been able to overcome printing options. So I would work with your hosting vendor. I know that most recently we worked with a group where we set up distinct printers to go directly to drawers. So yes, there are ways around it, but you're right. You need to have somebody technical help you set up that printer. That's outside of my scope, unfortunately. Okay. Unapplied encounter credits. Okay, so in one of the 5.9 versions, I can't remember which one, NextGen gave us this wonderful process to where we can go under File, Process, Unapplied encounter credits, and have the system query and return for us 3 different scenarios. First of all, I want to emphasize encounter credits. So you still have to work your account credits the old-fashioned way. That's not captured in this process at all. But our 3 options are process encounters, where patient amount equals the unapplied amount. Pretty straightforward, right? We collected our $20 copay, and the system prorated $20 down to the patient. For whatever reason, it didn't get caught at our time of charge passing, probably because I didn't have a batch set to active. But there's many different ways that this can occur. So you can have the system return for you where the patient amount equals my unapplied amount. From the front of the application, you click Process, and it will create a batch for you that, yes, you still have to go in and post that. And then the second option is Process Unapplied with a patient balance. So let's say that I paid a $20 copay and the system prorated $10 down to me. So in this instance, the system again will bring that to the forefront for me, and I have the option to process, which will go ahead and create that batch for me and perform all those actions to move that money down to the patient balance. Our third option here is View Unapplied with no patient balance. This process goes button is grayed out when you select this option because those have to be reviewed and worked. We have an unapplied, but the patient doesn't owe any money. So what do we need to do with that? But love this feature as it brings everything right to the front for you to work. So on the BBP, I can set all the same parameters that I set on the front. So I can do from the earliest possible date to, I could do yesterday or today, whatever you choose. And then we have two options to process encounters where patient amount equals the unapplied amount, and we can set the process unapplied with the patient balance. We do not have the third option because there's nothing that the BBP can do automatically for me. Again, I have to manually work those. And if you want to set up one job where it's really kind of a no-brainer, right? It's $20 unapplied and $20 patient balance, you can even set that to automatically go ahead and process those. And yes, post it, go to the BBP and post that batch. I don't want anybody to have to spend time on that. Or you can set it to no, and somebody can manually go and review that batch. Month-end reports. So important to have your suite of reports that you run every month end. In NextGen, our accounts receivable, we know that NextGen doesn't like to report historically. So if you ask me what your aging looked like a year ago, I can get you the total numbers by backdating my process date, but I can't tell you what buckets those amounts lived in. So even from your accounts receivable standpoint, it's great to have a process to run those every month. Hopefully you're balancing your charges, your beginning AR, charges, payments, adjustments, refunds, ending AR. So once you have your suite of reports built and memorized, then we can come over and create one package called month-end reports. And then we set up a job for each different memorized report that we want to have run. And think about this even outside the box. Do you have any reports you run weekly, daily? Do you want to have some reports emailed automatically? So think about reports that you're running that you have memorized and the intervals, and you can set up jobs to go ahead and automatically email those reports out to the intended end user. Okay. And
All right,
lastly,
I have another question for you. Raising my hand.
Yeah.
Okay, does the system have integrated within the system all the current ANSI, if I say this right, ANSI codes that is used to reflect what action was taken by the payer and then communicated back by the clearinghouse?
So the ANSI files, those are our our 835, 837s, 277s, 999s, yes. So yes, we can import them in. I highly encourage you to download them from your clearinghouse and see what that information looks like imported. Again, not every single payer is going to return something to you, but at a minimum, you should be getting your 999 saying that your claim file was accepted and good. I have seen several times where the EDI file was created and then we didn't upload it to the clearinghouse. So that way you see you're accepted. So yes, we can import all of those EDI files, but it really depends on the payer as to what information is returned. I hope that helps. Okay, lastly, I'm going to talk about performance reporting. So you can monitor the jobs, how long they're taking, when they're last run, the job results. Know that when you're setting up your packages and scheduling, you can only have one package running at a time on each BBP server. So if you have multiple servers, you'll want to load balance. You'll want to keep an eye on how long is the first package taking before I should set up the time for my second package to begin. So one of the ways that we can monitor that is from within practice management. We can run under general your BBP schedule and then select the parameters that you'd like.
All right,
So
I have
I know
another
we
question.
covered that. Yes.
They're just popping up. Okay, so we work with Phreesia. Every Friday we have to upload a payment assurance file to Phreesia, and this is done via a memorized report. Could we have that product of that memorized report automatically generated via the BBP?
Absolutely. Any memorized report that you have, you can set it up in, set up a package and set up your job. Now, as far as getting it to its intended destination, that's where you could see if they have the ability to set up that SFTP, that Secure File Transfer Protocol, where they could just send it, or you may have to still then go out and upload, but at least eliminate that first step and let the BBP work for you. So as long as you're defining your memorized reports with words, so let's say my words of last week, right? Then I never have to touch it. Or the word yesterday. Memorize your reports with the word options instead of picking your dates, because that's not going to work on the BBP, right? Because you're going to have to go in and change your dates. But as long as you can define it with the word options, let it run in the background. So as I was going to say, I know we've covered a lot of information in this short amount of time, but hopefully I have inspired you to take a look at the background business processor and see the different job types that are available to you, and try and set up what you can to free up your staff. There's always other things to do in the CBO, right? You can, do your follow-up, appeals, use your people for the hard things that the system cannot do for us. Do we have any other questions?
I do have one. I have a job that runs a report, but it will not send me the email.
I am not sure for troubleshooting. Have you tried to look on the success community? Or I would open a support ticket with NextGen. Again, when it starts to get into some of that technical stuff, again, I'm more the application person, and the technical, I have other resources that I would go to. But try NextGen Success Community, see what they offer.
All right, and another one, can you please walk us through scheduling jobs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to make us dizzy here for just a minute, actually. So I'm going to go back up to my screenshot. Here we go. Okay. Okay. So when we go into the Schedules tab, you would create new, so that you think about the jobs that you have in the package. So if you wanted to, most commonly I use this occurs every 1 week, and that's what I would use for my Monday through Friday. So every week, Monday through Friday, I want this package to run at this specific time. Or my month end, let's say, I would use this occurs every 1 month on the first day And that way, on the first of every month, I don't have to think about it. My reports will run for the previous month. Again, memorize your reports using the word last month, so that way these will work for you. These are the two most common that I use. Occurs every 1 week, Monday through Friday. So that way you don't have it running on Saturday and Sunday. You can choose to not have it run on the holidays, or you can choose to have it run. And then this will default to the date that you're setting it up, and I leave the end date open. The other scenario that I had walked through is if you want your batches to post, say, every 3 hours, then I would use this radio button and set my intervals of when I want it to run between this time and the end time. So it's just important to think about the package that you have and how often do you want that package to run. I hope that helps.
All right, next question. I'm concerned that the BBP does not have all the links of systems that process receivables, and this looks like it would be another system that we would have to run to process receivables.
I wouldn't think of it as like a standalone kind of thing. I hope that you will take a look at the BBP as look at your staff. What is your staff doing every day or once a week? And then just move over to the background business processor and set it up to run in those intervals. Of course, there could be failures, but you set up the email to notify upon failures or upon completion. If you really want to monitor it, to know every time that it completes, let me know. But think of it as integrated, because really you're just taking what your end user is doing by clicking and letting it go in the background for you. I hope you'll approach it that way.
Okay, I have another one for you. Can you show us the performance reporting reports again? How long do you suggest to wait between jobs?
So, great question. Yep, let me get back to my monitoring reports, which is almost my last slide here. Again, making us dizzy for a minute. Okay. So it's okay to, so think about the job that's running before. So let's say that I'm running my build process, right? And that can vary. The time on that can vary depending on how many charges have dropped in, right? As opposed to maybe I'm printing a schedule report first thing in the morning, that's going to finish within 2 minutes, right? So you'll want to think about the package that you have set up first and the jobs within that package. Will they vary or will they be pretty much the same? Again, billing encounters versus, say, printing letters, that your letters are probably going to print pretty quickly. So just set up your buffers accordingly. And, you can have one run 10 minutes after you think the other one's going to run. And if you start to have failures, then you'll know that you need to come in and make some adjustments as to when the next one starts, if they start tripping over one another. So here, under my reports, general BBP schedule, here I was just looking at items that processed last week. Of course, you have all of the items here, or columns, apologize. So I can even see how many items were processed. That gives you a good gauge as to the items that were processed, how many seconds per item did it take to run, and then you make your adjustments from there. So it's once you get it set, it's kind of set it and forget it. It's when you're first setting them up or you're adding in a new package that you just have to be aware of what else is already in place and what makes sense and what time should I be running this at. And I hope that helps.
That's all I have that was pending.
Okay.
Oh, got another one. Let's see, all these failures are because you had multiple running at the same time.
So this is, I don't have an exit description. This is just a sample here. So when I have my package, this is my package schedule time, right? So I'm going to come back up and talk about that for a minute. So, sorry, making us all busy again. I'm going to come down to, which one am I looking for? So I want to find my one where I have my package. Ooh, apologize. Oh, it's after this, where I have my one billing package, but I have all of my jobs within that package. So here it is. Apologize, took me a minute to find it. So on my report, it shows me my package runtime, which my package is electronic billing and print paper claims. So my package is going to start at, say, 9 a.m. And I have it set up to first bill my encounters. Then it's going, when that job is done, it's going to move on to the next job. So this whole package is going to run in one fell swoop. And so what's important for me to think about is how long is it going to take this package to run? Because it's going to run all these things, bill my encounters, print my forms, create my EDI files. Then when that's done, let's say I want to set my print letters, because I'm running in different intervals, or I just want those to run differently. Then I need to set my print letters package to run, say, maybe at 11 o'clock, allowing 2 hours for my bill encounters, print my paper claims, create my EDI files. And those are just random numbers that I picked out of the air. If you're a smaller group, maybe it'll only take 30 minutes for all of these things to run. So yes, on my report, it said package runtime. And unfortunately, in my sandbox, I really don't have great error messages to show you. The one that I did have on here, I grabbed from a success community document. Anyone else?
Yes, I do have another one for you. I may have missed the dashboard slides, but what items are on the management dashboard, and is the dashboard able to be changed?
Dashboard. I am not certain. Can we unmute or?
I probably can. Hold on. Let me see if I can click on. Oh, I don't know how to do. No, it doesn't allow me to do
Oh,
that. To unclick one
okay.
person.
Can you please elaborate on that? The dashboard, are you talking about like the NextGen dashboard? I don't have that at my practice. Not everybody has that dashboard.
A management dashboard. I wonder if maybe it's something that's custom on their end. Is that what you're saying?
NextGen does offer a dashboard, but it's an additional purchase, and I don't have it in our sandbox. So I'm not sure if that's what they're referring to as the dashboard. If you could elaborate. My apologies.
The dashboard would be a summary of things that you could look at that would allow a manager to see things at a glance. And do you have this, Glenn, in your system? I imagine it might have been an add-on.
So you're asking about management reports. Okay, so what are we trying to monitor at a management level?
claims sent, claims received, claims denied.
Okay. Let me get back here. Yeah, NextGen, you can run, of course, a claims report. Thing I don't like about it is you can't collapse all on that one. Let me see. I am looking for my report on my 277. So let me get down to my okay. So this is our standard claims report. So under our reports, no, that's my process. I don't think I showed this here. So this is essentially this report here. Oh, here it is, yes. Our report's general claims request. So here you could see how many claims were processed. So you would want to look at, say, last week for your archived electronic or paper claims. You could use this report to see how many claims went out last week. And I think this might be what you're referring to. So you're just trying to, at a management level, monitor how things are going out. This is the best way. Unfortunately, this report, I wish it would do a collapse all and just give me a summary by day, but it doesn't. So I get all of the detail. And if you were importing your 277s and 999s, you could narrow down to different, you could set additional parameters. You could have it grouped by your status category description to see that this claim has been paid, or that, like the second one from the bottom here, I know it's kind of tiny print, rejected, if they've been rejected. So even if you're not importing your 277s and 999s, you can see how many claims went out last week. By importing these additional EDI files, you get to glean this additional information, which could be very helpful at a high level. Especially if I don't have an acknowledgement status, then I know that that file didn't get uploaded to my clearinghouse. So it sounds like you're just looking for a suite of reports to monitor what's happening in the CBO. And if you memorize those reports, and again, use the word, say, last week, then, when you come in every Monday morning, you could have those in your email or have them saved out to a folder, and you can go and review all those files in that shared drive, or save it to a snapshot. And after you look at it, you don't need it anymore, you can go ahead and delete your snapshot. Okay, any other questions?
I don't have any more in the windows. And those of you that did ask questions, I will make sure that we do follow up in case more info is needed, by the way.
Yes, please. I want to make sure that I've answered everybody's questions. So I hope this has inspired you to at least go look and see what you can do on the BBP. And, you can monitor it for a while until you're comfortable with it. But like I said, free your people up to do the hard stuff. Okay.
All right. Looks like we do have a little bit of time left, but I think the questions have slowed down. Thank you for attending today. We hope again that you guys got some good information here. You will receive a recording of the webinar in your email. Probably usually comes out the next day or so. Also, feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions. Our email at info@emedapps.com will come in and get sorted directly to the right rep. If you know who your rep is, feel free to reach out to them directly. You can always call our main number as well. We are happy to help with these areas or any others. Feel free to reach out at your convenience. So again, thank you for your time today, and I hope you guys got a good bit of information.
Thank you.